Today we will explore practical techniques to store various food items in your kitchen, allowing them to retain their natural freshness and delightful flavors for an extended period. Whether you have limited refrigerator space or struggle with organizing your fridge, this video will provide valuable insights. So, let's dive right in. Let's begin with spices. How often do we mindlessly toss them into the refrigerator? Well, it turns out that humidity is the #1 enemy of spices. To preserve their texture and flavor, it's best to store them in a dark, dry cupboard in airtight containers. This way, they can remain fresh for up to 6 months. Similarly, pickles and sauces, which already contain natural preservatives, retain their most flavorful qualities when stored outside the fridge. Nuts and seeds, on the other hand, should be protected from air exposure, their primary adversary. To ensure their longevity, store them in airtight containers, and they will stay fresh for up to a year. Avoid storing them in non-airtight containers in the fridge, as this can compromise their texture and flavor. Now, let's talk about oils. Mustard, sesame, coconut, peanut, and even ghee do not require refrigeration. Instead, they are best stored in a cool, dark place. Opt for glass containers as oils tend to react with plastic or metal. Interestingly, according to Ayurvedic scriptures, ghee, when stored in airtight glass, ceramic, or mud containers, gains medicinal properties over time. Moving on to potatoes, onions, and garlic, these kitchen staples prefer room temperature. Cold temperatures break down the starches in potatoes, resulting in an unpleasant sweetness. Onions become mushy and moldy due to the humidity in the refrigerator, while garlic also doesn't fare well in cold environments. To preserve their powerful flavors, keep them in well-ventilated spaces outside the fridge. Citrus fruits, such as lemons and oranges, retain their freshness and juiciness when kept outside the fridge. In fact, an age-old tip from our grandmothers suggests wrapping lemons in newspaper or a paper bag to extend their shelf life. Additionally, ginger should also be kept out of the fridge, as it tends to become moldy. While it may dry out a bit over time, it retains its flavor and medicinal properties. Melons, like watermelon and muskmelon, are remarkably sturdy and can remain fresh for a considerable period without refrigeration. However, if you prefer them slightly chilled, you can place them in the fridge for an hour before consuming or follow the traditional method of soaking them in water. Speaking of fruit preservation, mangoes also benefit from a water soak before indulging in their sweet juiciness. Cucumbers, on the other hand, rot faster in cold environments, so it's best to keep them outside the fridge. Similarly, eggplants quickly become soft when exposed to cold temperatures. When it comes to bread, refrigeration is not the optimal choice. Lower temperatures accelerate water evaporation, resulting in dry and brittle bread. Instead, store bread in a tightly closed box or secure it with a rubber band for freshness. Now, let's shift our focus to foods that thrive in the fridge. Milk and milk products, such as butter, curd, and paneer, benefit from the cooler temperatures. However, it's advisable to store them at the back of the fridge, where the temperature is the most stable. Leafy greens, such as spinach and lettuce, can stay fresh longer if you cut the stems and store them in airtight containers lined with tissue paper. This method helps slow down their aging process and prevents them from wilting. Chillies can be stored by removing their buds and wrapping them in tissue paper or placing them in airtight containers. By doing so, you can ensure they stay fresh and retain their fiery kick. Partially ripe tomatoes are better stored outside the fridge to allow them to ripen naturally, while fully ripe ones can benefit from refrigeration to extend their shelf life. Other vegetables, such as gourds, capsicum, cauliflower, carrots, cabbage, and beetroot, tend to stay fresher when refrigerated. Remember to keep them in perforated or breathable bags to maintain their crispness and prevent them from becoming soggy. Now, let's talk about a few specifics. Bananas emit a high amount of ethylene gas, which accelerates ripening. Therefore, it's wise to keep them separate from other fruits and vegetables to prevent premature spoiling. Similarly, apples are ethylene emitters and should be stored outside the fridge. When it comes to mushrooms, they prefer to be stored in their original packaging. To prevent faster spoilage, avoid washing them until just before cooking. Lastly, carrots stay crispier for longer when stored in water. Simply cut off the leafy greens, place them in a container filled with water, and store them in the fridge. Lastly, it's essential to ensure that food items are stored in airtight containers to prevent odors from spreading and cross-contamination. Opt for glass or BPA-free plastic containers whenever possible. Avoid using low-grade plastic polybags for storage, especially for fruits and vegetables, as they don't allow proper air circulation. Instead, consider using breathable cotton or jute mesh bags for optimal preservation. Remember, while these storage tips can help prolong the freshness of your food, it's always recommended to buy fresh produce whenever possible. And don't solely rely on the fridge. Explore alternative storage methods to maximize shelf life and reduce food waste. We hope you found these tips helpful in your journey to preserve the freshness of fruits and vegetables. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Stay healthy and stay tuned for more informative videos. Thank you for watching.